All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Matrix Dialogues. It is the same host you've painfully been listening to for 20 episodes in a row now. This is episode 21. We are now officially in the top 1% of podcasters. If you don't know that, that's a fun tip. 21 episodes is what it takes to become in the top 1%. So here we are, 8 months later. Now it gets for real. The last 8 months have just been for fun. But I am here today with the first French person to ever be on my podcast. We're in France now, baby. Hey, I'm not even gonna butcher your last name. How you say it? Matthieu.
It's Matthieu Ionesco because my dad is Romanian, so that's why.
That guy. And Matthieu's actually we're gonna start working together a little bit going forward as well. So excited about that. And yeah, thanks for coming out today.
No,
man.
thanks for having me on first podcast. So we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
He's nervous, but he's gonna be okay. We're gonna take care of him. No diddy though.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man. So we'll just get into it. You grew up in France. What were some of the most defining aspects of French culture that shaped your worldview?
Wow. I mean, so I would say like it's the food that's like the thing, at least because I moved here in 2009, so it's like the food that I've been missing mostly. But the things that shaped us were just how people act. I guess the way that we like go about life is very different than what we have in the US. And by complete honesty, we're very much more like hardcore and like super hard-headed
Yeah.
in Europe, not just in France. I would say just in Europe in general.
Yeah.
At least in Texas, we're like very laid back. But I would say since I moved here in 2009, so I was 11 years old, I feel like I'm more Americanized because I moved here so young.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like there's a way that France technically shaped me. It's the way that my parents like raised me.
Yeah.
My dad was born in Romania, which is a country that was like going through a lot of stuff back in the day whenever he was young.
Yeah.
And like I got to learn a lot from all the shit that he's been through. Can I curse, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And then my mom was like born on the west side of France, which is called Bretagne, which is like Brittany. So she's like the full 100% French in the whole family.
Yeah.
So she's been able to like really put the culture into us, and obviously her side of the family with the grandparents and stuff. But my dad was born obviously in a communist party country.
That before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, I don't know if that really answers your question like fully.
I think what I've talked to, I have some friends from the UK, and like you said, I think it's a Europe thing that the culture over there is just a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more, I wouldn't even say hard-headedness, but just like resiliency kind of built in. America is a little bit softer, a little bit more idealistic, right? They're more like, you can have whatever you want, you can achieve all your dreams, and that Western culture in Europe is more just like, shut the fuck up, bro.
Yeah.
Stop being, like, yeah, that fantasy shit's cool, but like, do the fucking work. Like a little bit just more like, yeah, just straight laced and like hardworking, tougher mentality, not as like soft and friendly per se.
Yeah, I agree, because like, so for example, like actually the first time that we met was at one of the 100-mile events that two of my friends were running into, and also we have the other company that we're working with. We're obviously trying to show like our product to people. One of our friends, his name is Romain. He knows that people are like, sometimes they'll just say, oh, I like it, just because they want people to hear that they like it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, Romain literally came on to like, I think it was like 2 or 3 people, and he was like, no, give me your honest opinion.
Yeah.
Like, do you like it or do you not like it? Because some people they'll just say whatever makes them feel good, and that's it.
Or they'll tell you what they think you want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in Europe, I consider myself that as well. We're very blunt and transparent. So whatever I feel, I'll say it. But in here, it feels like it's like you're almost like rubbing like people, and it's just like, I guess, the wrong way by being like by. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's why people like French or Spanish people get seen more from Spain or France, are seen as like more like mean or rude. Like, so like you said, they're so blunt. They're just so straightforward in how they're willing to speak. And here, people are like, oh well, like I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I guess. But also we're like in a different era,
Yeah, yeah.
in a different society where people are like, even though I was not born like in like I was only born in 1998, so um we got to learn the ways that people are becoming a little bit softer, in my opinion, to people's criticisms. Or it doesn't have like, I don't have to say something to you and be like hard ass. I just come from like I have empathy. I want to help, so that's why I say it. And like, it sounds negative, but it's not negative. It's just supposed to help. That's the only reason why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And in the last time we spoke, you talked a lot about your dad and your admiration for him.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you briefly
Yeah.
touched on it there again, that he is from Romania, and came to France. What values or lessons from his experiences you said that you learned from him? What are some of those?
Well, the number one thing that I've learned from him is sacrifice. He's sacrificed so much for not just himself whenever he was growing up and then whenever he moved to France, but he sacrificed a lot for us. Whenever we came into the US, specifically Houston, because we've been here for literally 15 years. I went to California for 1 year in college, but besides the point, we were only supposed to stay in the US for 2 years. Because you have like a specific work visa
Yep.
that you can stay under, and then obviously you're an expat, so you're going through that whole contract with the company that you're getting hired to move to the US. But he saw that we were starting to love Houston specifically, not just the United States, but specifically Houston, because we made so many good friends, good relationships, and we begged. And then when I say we, it's my brother and I, we begged our parents, and specifically my dad, to say, look, like, we want to stay here. We want to grow up here because we feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
In France, like we were talking about, it's a little bit more rough, I guess, in a way, whenever you're growing up.
Yeah.
And we were not raised in the best neighborhoods in France. It was like the ghetto of France, but it's nothing compared to like Compton in LA, for example. But he sacrificed. He was like, okay, like, I'll put my kids' lives in front of mine. And we were like super grateful about it. The hard work that he has is like truly insane. The fact that, I mean, he came from a country where he had like 1 pound, from what I remember, and maybe if I butcher it, then I'll talk to him afterwards, but they would only have 1 pound of meat for, I think it's like a whole month.
Jesus.
To a family of 4. And he left the country from Romania to France in the trunk of a car with no papers and nothing like that. I hope this is actually like not going to get him in trouble, but he like put a lot of like seeing us in the best position and making us feel as comfortable as possible by having food in our mouths, water, and a roof over our heads. So like this, we can be like feeling like live a normal life, which he was not able to do. Which is actually, it's very sad, but I look up to him because I want to be him whenever I grow up. I want to be that father figure whenever I have a family, to be able to go the extra steps if my kids need something. Obviously not spoil them, because like nowadays, if you get like millions of dollars, you'll want to like, some kids are like just spoiled.
Yeah.
But teach my kids the right ways from the wrong ways. And I think he's been able to teach me that, like, in the best way possible.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot there. Let's start with, you were psychologically, the age of like 11 to 13 is really pivotal to how we then see the world going forward. So it's not really too ironic that at that point in your life, you and your brother were both like, hey, like, we want to stay here, because you were kind of setting those like those foundational roots fundamentally to what you would experience going forward in life. And of course it's great. And I appreciate it to have parents who are willing to hear you out and like you said, make those sacrifices. That's admirable in any extent. Yeah, man, that's nice. It's pretty beautiful collectively there. Yeah, I knew like I said, from our last conversation, that your dad was someone who was very important to you and that you idolized and wanted to be a lot like. So I wanted to to bring that up a bit as well today.
I'm not saying that I don't care about my mom. Like, I'm a mama's boy at heart. Like, I love my mom, and I know it's like it's weird because like on social media now, like mama's boy and stuff, it's considered a red flag, which I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I've seen that a couple times, but I love my mom as well.
It's just the Western culture, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Um, French culture is often deep for relationships, and I know that's pretty big for you. And times we've talked previously, having meaningful relationships with people is a big thing that drives you personally and also professionally. How has your background influenced how you build relationships?
Wow. Well, I mean, say we were fortunate enough that whenever we moved specifically here, we were introduced to a school that was called, that is still called the International School, which had the opportunity for people that are expats that only speak French to go to a school that can provide the kids to have like still a French education away from home.
Okay.
And the culture stayed, everything stayed the same, even though we were in a foreign country. And we were able to really capitalize on building those friendships because we come from the same side of the world. And also, I don't know why, and I still don't understand it till this day because I don't use this to my advantage. But whenever people meet me and they're Americans or foreign and I say that I'm French, they're like, oh my God, like I want to go. I love this country and stuff. But I still don't understand how people like romanticize it so much.
Mm-hmm.
But that has helped me tremendously to be able to make those friendships and like make conversations and build new connections, whether it was in in my personal life or in the professional world. I mean, I feel like it helps, but it shouldn't define who I am. Like, I don't have to tell you like, oh, I'm French for you to like me or X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if that.
No, you're good. I think it's good to have the environment, like you said, that you had to grow up with people who were like you, right? So you weren't that complete, wasn't a complete like culture shock to you. Maybe you were blessed to avoid that by getting thrown in like public American school.
Yeah, I mean, I was so it was a sad part of my life. I reclassified because I was never the best like in like book smart and in school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in the US, it was whenever we showed up, it was definitely a culture shock to be like in America. I didn't know what America was. To be completely frank with you, you know what I expected? I thought it was going to be like High School Musical. I thought it was going to be like, I mean, and I also heard about Texas, but I'm so young, so I didn't really know what it was.
There's just like people on horses and shit.
Yes, exactly. I thought we were going to go to school on a horse. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm not kidding. And I thought like, because I had complications whenever I was back in France, like bullied and a little bit, but not too much. But whenever I saw like those shows and the kids getting bullied and stuff, like I took it to the first degree, which is something that I really do. Like I take things to the first degree. Sometimes it depends on what it is. Like I take it, I guess, sometimes too seriously or like too literal. Exactly. And it can hurt, it can make or break you, I guess, in a way. But I took that to that instance whenever I came to school because I was like, holy shit, like I'm about to get bullied because of the things that I saw on just a show that was made in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But the first instance I had whenever I came to the US and specifically in school was the nicest thing ever, but it caught me off guard. Mm-hmm. I sat down and I will remember this day until I die. Her name is Nicole Saleh and she's a super good friend of mine, but we don't talk that much anymore. I had a like very short blonde haircut. And she was sitting right behind me and she started touching my hair and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? But she was like, oh my God, I love your hair. Like she was like super friendly and everything. And I was so not accustomed to it. Mm-hmm. And everybody was so kind. And like, I guess it's like the Southern hospitality also that you get in Texas specifically. I was just so like,
it just foreign to you.
It was extremely foreign. I was not used to it because like we were talking about earlier, it's like people are very hard-headed and stuff back home, but everybody was open and willing to hear my story before judging me, which is a good thing because in France, I'm not gonna lie, we judge, and I don't mind. Like, I would rather judge someone to like, because I feel like I have a good radar whenever it comes to that, to see like, okay, this person is not the best to be like hanging around with.
Mhm.
And now I can look at someone, like for example, for you, whenever I met you, I was like, okay, this person is going to be in my life. Like, I know this guy is a good person and X, Y, and Z. Like, I can just tell, like, obviously I'm not like the best at that. Sometimes I do fuck up, which is normal.
Yeah.
But most of the time I have a good tendency on like having that, good, like,
extra judgment.
yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah. I've heard a lot from my non-American friends that their perception of American culture is usually driven by like what you said, like TV, whether that be
Yeah.
High School Musical or whatever
Yeah.
you see on like, you know, like if you watched older TV, you know, like Friends or something something you've seen on television.
Yeah.
Even my friends, a friend of mine who is from Iraq, he said he learned English by just watching American TV.
Yeah.
Like that's how, you know, so his like sarcasm or his humor is kind of like confused sometimes because he's basically referencing it all from television. So
Yeah.
that's not too foreign, but yeah, I mean, that's yeah, wow.
And also one of the ways that I started to learn English is watching TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I want to backtrack to something you said a little bit ago with why people say they want to go to France. I think it's like the same because their idea of France is kind of like what your idea of America was before you came, right? They're like, oh, Eiffel Tower, oh, croissants, oh, you know, like armpitted haired women, right? Like that's their like.
No, it's somewhat true.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But
For some people.
it was, but like, you know, so it's kind of this like this fantasy.
Yeah,
right. Like they're just like, like what's it like?
Yeah.
You know, and so same thing when you came to America, it's like, oh, like what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
You know, but most people, you know, in the U.S., and you're like, this is huge, right? As to where like even the biggest countries in Europe, like they aren't that big, right?
Texas is bigger than France.
Yeah,
which is insane.
It's bigger than a lot of countries in Europe. But, and I say that to say is like, you know, a lot of you probably got a passport pretty young as a kid, right? Because if you wanted to go anywhere to travel, like you know, a passport.
Correct.
Well, here in the States, like most people don't actually have a passport because you don't need a passport to go from state to state.
Yeah.
You know, so their idea of traveling to somewhere like Europe, right, or something is like so insane because it's like, you know, the collective make of the U.S. is so big and broad that you can, you know, you can go to Colorado and that's a whole different type of, you know,
agreed. Yeah,
place,
1,000%.
Florida or California or New York, right? And you never have to leave the U.S. It's still all here, and so yeah, that's why so many people don't get a passport. So the idea of going somewhere like truly foreign feels like so. It's like kind of like an idolized fantasy.
That's good that you're bringing that up because whenever I went to school at A&M, you know how sometimes, well, actually not sometimes, every time you get to introduce yourself to like the whole class and X, Y, and Z, and there's a girl that was sitting next to me and she was like just explaining where she was and she said College Station, and I was surprised by the amount of people that were not having a passport of any sort. But now it makes sense from where you're coming from because I was shocked. I was like, you guys don't want to go and stuff like that?
You don't want to go anywhere?
It's crazy. Yeah. But that specific girl, she said, I'm not leaving College Station. I'm not leaving Texas, which I found extremely like, I don't know if there's like a specific word for it, but I was like, there's so many wonders in the world. It doesn't have to be France. It can be Fiji. It can be Australia. It can be Japan, anything else. But she was like so like enclosed into like this culture at A&M specifically. And I also got another interaction whenever I went in LA to go to school. I said that I was from France, and then this girl was like, like, no, like, give me the weird look. I was like, like, what are you on? But it's definitely interesting to see like that, like there's so many people that I know that they want to go. Yeah. They want to be able to visit the world and stuff. But it seems hard for people to get a passport. And
I mean, it's not too bad. I think it's just again, there's just.
And it's expensive.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I have a passport. I've traveled. I continue to travel, but yeah. I'll touch on the culture piece first. I think
go ahead.
I'm from the South as well. I'm not from Texas. I'm from Mississippi. But I can tell you holistically across the South, there's this big focus on and attached ideology solely to the city, the town, or the state that you're from. Right? Like Texas has a big like everything's bigger in Texas, right? Yeah, things like that. And as to where I see like they create an identity attaching themselves to their, again, like I said, city, town, or state. You know, and even in America, we're very like, I'm proud to be an American, right? Like, and that's less common in countries in Europe, like, I'm from France.
Yeah.
Right, but not like,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
like unless it's the World Cup or something, and then you care, right?
Yeah,
But other than
that is true.
right, no
That
one
is
gives a
true.
shit. And so I think that's like the difference too is in American societies, we were supposed to people in my like, and you're a few years younger than me. I was born in '95, so I'm just a couple years older than you. But you know, like I was a kid when 9/11 happened, and there was this huge patriotic push across the U.S. as a whole. That I see people in my age range now who are American, like we all have this like, you know, like this pride we carry with us. But I think there's unintended consequences that bleed into that. Again, primarily here in the South, that are just generated around people attaching that. Well, I'm from College Station, I can never leave here. And like you said, there's so much outside of that. So it's good to have pride in your nation or your state.
Yeah.
Like it's not all that exists, right? And I've been baffled as well by that, or surprised, whichever word you like. By people's unwillingness, you know, or fear to go somewhere else and to see new things.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a big American thing again too. You know,
Yeah.
because you talk to anyone from any other country, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I traveled to, you know, I went to Germany, I went to the UK, I went to, you know, Italy. Like I've been to all these places, right? I think I just took a train for the weekend, came home. You know, like that's a very common thing.
Exactly.
Again, here it's like Dallas is 4 hours away,
Yeah.
right? Like I mean, it's also the size of the landmass. Like you can catch a train to Dallas, like that's about as that'd be like going to Italy or something, you know, like it's not insanely far away, but it's far enough to where it's like, how much further could I go without getting on a plane? But yeah, just very different, cultural things are fun to me. I find it so interesting. And just also how, American people are so focused on, you know, like work and money, as to where commonly in European culture, there's more of a focus on who you are.
They're more focused on life.
Yeah.
Just in general. We live better in terms of like our lifespan and just like everything culture wise, like enjoying like vacations and all that stuff. Like in France or in Europe, it's much higher, but here it's like very focus driven on like monetary things.
Yeah.
If you get enough money, then you'll be able to travel and go do your things that you want to do with your families and loved ones.
Yeah.
So
that's to where, and the European culture, that's the opposite. You know, they're like, hey, like I could live like shit, but we have money to travel.
Yeah.
You know, again, just very, very different cultures. And again, I think, like you said, they're a little bit more blunt, harsh, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think they have better focuses on certain life aspects. And I think inversely, there are things that here in America we do a little bit better too. You know.
Yeah. I mean, everything has pros and cons.
No, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So let's jump into a different subject here, outside of just you being from France and the nuances of being the weird French guy.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your company that you're starting.
Okay. So we have a company that's called Bon Better Snacks, which bon means good. And we started it, well, technically with a friend of mine. His name is Alex Foda. He used to work in New York in investment banking. And that whole group that we have has been revolving around sports and very healthy aspects in life, just in general, since we were kids. And we've known each other for more than 10 years. We literally went to middle school and high school together.
Was he a part of that same, like, is he French as well?
Well, he's Egyptian.
Okay.
But he speaks French and everything like that.
Okay.
And he came to me with the idea, and also one of my roommates, Romain, like I was talking about earlier, he came to me and he was like, look, like I want to start something, whatever. But he never told me what it was. And that was at the beginning of 2024, like January, February aspect. And I was like, okay, like I want to hear, what do you have to say? But he never said anything. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to wait. So we waited until like, I think it was like August, right before I went to go to France to go see my family, because I try to go see them every year. At least my grandparents from my mom's side. And he then explained the whole thing. He's very like OCD and very good in terms of like making sheets on PowerPoints and all that stuff. And then he explained the metrics. He explained like the specific numbers. What would we do? I was mesmerized. I was like, holy shit, like he just came up with this idea, but he's had this idea for a while.
Yeah.
And I was so on board because he's so smart, and he's very like in tune with what he wants to do. If he wants to put 110% into it, he will put like literally more than that, because like the guy, like he loves what he does. He wants to bring a different aspect with health and snacks. And also he's seen people do it in the investment banking industry with other big companies. So he was like, why not me? Why not us? So then after he brought a whole group that we have right now, which is basically 6 of us, 5 of us are locally in Houston, and one of them is actually still in Mexico. And we just want to bring an understanding that our like system, at least in the US for food, is
Horrible.
a little off.
Awful.
Genetically modified ingredients.
Yeah.
For example, the analogy that I bring to others, to mostly the people that I try to explain this company to, is if you go to Europe and if you go to the US and you look at tomatoes, they're very different. If you go buy a tomato at HEB, it's gonna be very round, like super pretty. Like there's no like
blemishes or anything.
There's no problem with it.
Yeah.
But if you go to Europe, there's bumps. It's not
bruising.
exactly because you know it came from the actual source and it fell on the floor and it traveled to get to that specific spot. You didn't have to genetically modify something or spray things on there or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And we just want to, again, like bring the health aspects.
So some quality food. You're trying to bring some more quality.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's
and
definitely thought.
Bringing whole natural ingredients
Mhm.
and things that you can actually buy in the grocery store.
Yep.
For example, our main source of sugar will be dates.
Mhm.
It won't be like anything that will mess your guts up or
like sucralose or anything like that.
Yeah. And like just things that are like good for you that you can literally make at home and also make it very affordable.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot there. One being that you guys have a good product. I mean, I've tasted it biasly, right?
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. But another aspect there is the shit, my brain. The variance that you highlighted on is baffling. If you take even the same thing of M&Ms from here versus the UK, and the ingredients are holistically different.
Yeah.
The ingredient list in the US is, for those listening who don't know, it's probably a couple hundred items long versus the one in the UK or somewhere in Europe, much shorter, much shorter.
Yep.
And that's holistically any product. There's less actual legalities surrounding it in the U.S., where in Europe or the EU as a whole, there's many more discriminators against, hey, you can't use this kind of product, or you can't use this kind of pesticides or anything, or this type of chemicals can't be in the food. In the U.S., our people don't care about us to the same extent. They do not have those regulations in place.
Yeah.
And again, I get it. I get how we got there, right? Because the initial idea in the processed food world was, do you want people to die from starvation, or do you want them to have food?
Exactly. You got to care for the population. You guys have, I don't even know how many millions.
50 million.
Yeah, and then you compare it to one country, like for example, for France, that's the size of Texas.
Yeah.
You guys have way more people that you guys need to take care of compared to one specific country in Europe. So
yeah, but I think going forward, the products that are going to stand out, we even see it in like little restaurants here. Maybe you're familiar with the pizza place, Crust.
I've heard of it, but I've never been there.
Well, they're a big place on like organic material. Like,
oh, really?
Pizzas aren't fake. They're not shit. There's no like, this is raw dough with real bread and
okay,
yeast.
yeah,
like that's their whole push. Organic,
real
food.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more common nowadays.
Yeah,
before it was different.
Yeah, before people didn't care, right? Because people didn't know, and they were kind of essentially oblivious to it, right? They didn't know that there was all this shit in their food. But now with technology and people caring a bit more about their health and well-being, we're seeing this focus on, well, I don't want to eat a chemical that's bad for me. I don't want to eat something that's going to fuck up my gut. I don't, so I think we're going to see a huge, over the next decade, push of whole food, real ingredients.
Yeah.
Right? Because we kind of went through that period over the last 10 years where it was all like calorie controlled.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
How can I get healthier food? But it's like, it was healthier from a caloric standpoint, but it actually wasn't healthier or better for you in a total macronutrients or nutrients dense quality food standpoint.
Agreed.
And so I think we were, like anything, we go through phases where it was like, hey, we just need food so people don't starve. What it's made of doesn't matter. Then it was like, okay, hey, like people are fat, so now we want to maybe shift to healthier options, really just lower calories. However, again, it's made, no one cares. But now we're like, hey, look, I want real food to eat.
Yeah.
Eat something that actually is from the earth, that is actually made for me to eat, consume. And hopefully, I mean, we're seeing some changes in legislation and people complaining enough that I think in the next few years here in the US, we'll really get to a point where that's changed.
There's one thing to point out though that's a little bit tough. I think, especially whenever I am obviously putting parallels between Europe and the US. The cost of the ingredients that you get in the US is much more drastic. Like it's a little bit more expensive. So that's why I can understand, especially whenever like I don't know what the average income in the US is
That's I'm an economics major. I can tell you it's about $65,000 right now.
for the average.
By about 20,000.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it was about
but before I think it was a lot lower, or people that are like basically like in poverty line, they won't be able to afford the
quality food.
So that's why they verge to something like McDonald's, where it
Yeah.
costs like a lot less. Apparently now it costs more. I have no clue. I don't.
Inflation's real, yeah. It all costs
But
more.
just all I to say is like the ingredients that you can get at the supermarket here in the US, they might be natural, quote unquote, but they're more expensive.
Yes.
So everybody verges to the fast foods because it's a lot cheaper.
Or
But
like
but they're ingesting shit.
the processed food even at the store is cheaper.
Yes.
Right. Like the bag of Cheetos versus
oh my God.
I think of potatoes, right? Like
it's insane.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So kind of what, so you said that Alex kind of came to you with a really great plan, and so you were willing to jump on board because of his credibility, his work ethic, characteristics of him. But what are some of the fears that you faced already early on in this journey on failure?
Holy wow. So I mean, with any business, you come through obstacles and you have to like just go over the hump and then learn through your mistakes and everything. Like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So we've already came through a couple of things. I'm not going to talk about them right now, just because like I would rather keep it for like our group and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But I think the major thing that I was like a little bit frightened for at the beginning, or frightened of at the beginning, was how do I make, because I do the marketing, I do the content and stuff like that. How am I going to make it engaging for people to actually get a view of like what we're bringing to the world and what it's going to make, like how we're going to make a difference for these people?
Yeah.
Because we're not just bringing, we don't want to just do it for the money aspect. Like, to be completely frank with you, because we've been around healthy foods since we were born, because we're not from the US. We've always been around like very natural whole ingredients, like farms. Like I have to go get eggs in France or go fish with my grandfather to go actually eat and stuff like that. Like it's just like a normal thing. So we just want to be able to bring that to the others. And I think the content that we want to bring is to be as transparent as possible. But we're kind of shifting a little bit right now in terms of like the marketing strategies and stuff like that, to be able to show them and showcase everyone what we're actually being able to provide to the public. But I think the biggest one, to be honest, is just like learning through our mistakes, because everything is trial and error. You can try it for as long as you want, but if it doesn't work, if the metrics don't show, the analytics don't show, then it's not going to go in the right ways. And also we've had a couple problems with ingredients and manufacturing and all that stuff, because obviously we're a startup, so we don't have like $1 million in capital, and we're not accepting any type of outside investments. We're only doing it ourselves.
Why is that?
We just didn't want, I think we all came to the conclusion that we were not going to accept anything, because we want to be able to just start everything from us. And then after we were talking about it, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, that because I have a friend of my brother who wants to invest in the company, which we would love to. Like he's a very good guy, and like he's like I have met him like multiple times. He's an amazing person. But we don't want to put that much like pressure on us, because we're starting. We want to really capitalize on the product and put everything into order. And then whenever that comes, then maybe we can have the possibilities of having investments from outside people. Yeah. I don't know if that really is like a concrete answer.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's validity to that. I mean, but I would argue that maybe there is value to potentially accepting help from outside, because I don't think you lose focus of the quality or the goal that you have just because you have investment from outside.
Yeah.
And so I think if anything, maybe, it highlights more pressure, but I think pressure, I say a lot, like pressure's a privilege, right?
Absolutely.
You're privileged enough to be in a position where people believe in your group of people, this company that you've started, and want to be a part of that. Like, sure. And the pressure that comes along with that for you is like, well, shit, like we don't know, like, there's the the entrepreneurial game of, right, like most businesses unfortunately fail, right? So like that is a looming thing.
Yeah.
But I think that would actually help make you. I would argue that I think it would make you better,
I
not worse.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, but also the thing is like we're kind of retracting on it because of the fact that, like, for example, I don't know if you remember, but from the last time that you tried the bars, we had specific deadlines that we want to have the bars. We came into problems where we were supposed to have it on January 1st, New Year, new me kind of thing, whatever. I think that's what we literally, Alex, my brother, was telling you to explain you what the bar is, when the bars are going to come, and also we have 6 SKUs.
Yeah.
But there's
somebody, whoever was like somebody's girlfriend or somebody, like made it all at home or something.
No, we actually had a cook. We hired someone to cook the bars and to be able to give it out to people.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the manufacturer set yet.
Yeah.
And there's a specific like quantity like of minimum bars that you can make, and the big dogs are like in New York, in California.
Yeah.
It's 1 million minimum. For us, we're going at, for the first ones that we're going to do, we're going to go at 25,000 per SKU.
Okay.
But we couldn't not afford 1 million in bars. I mean, where are we going to put them? We don't have a warehouse and stuff like that. So we had to consider everything, and we decided to go just straight into the kitchen, make it like truly raw. Yeah. The way that you're supposed to cook, you cook in the kitchen. You don't cook wherever you like.
Yeah, in a facility.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think it was like, it brought like a different story to our like our brands and our image and our company and stuff, which is like, I truly love it. Like it's amazing.
I can tell you, so like an outsider, like it gave me like some initial like respect for your product, and I didn't know you guys.
Which I
you know, because
honestly like, thank you for that.
It's like, oh, like these, damn, like y'all just.
Yeah.
Like, I remember you were like cutting it, like, because it was in that big pan.
Yeah.
And I was like, you were like, oh no, we had to, like, you told me, like, yeah, we just cooked it yesterday. You know, like, we just had to make all this yesterday. And it was like, oh shit, like, it's that, like, it's not always about what's ideal or what's optimal. It's about, like, are you still willing to make it work regardless?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and to see that, like, hey, like, we knew we were going to be at this event. We had to have shit. Here it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And we don't, that's one thing also is, in terms of marketing, we had like, so we have calls like fairly a good amount per month. And we don't want to half-ass. If we think that there's, for example, if we taste the bars, we've tried the bars like hundreds of times already. That's why we don't have it yet, is because we're not satisfied. If we're not satisfied, we're not giving it to the public, because it has to taste good. The nutrients have to be there, and the macros have to be there. We have to be under a specific amount of calories, sugars, carbs, and all that stuff. So we just want to be as close to perfect, but perfection is just just an idea.
Yeah.
But we want to be close because we truly believe, and I truly believe like completely from my heart, that if we bring this to the public, they actually will benefit from it. Because like, for example, if there's a construction worker that's not eating enough because he's working 12, 14 hour shifts and he has nothing, and he's like, I don't know, like not getting paid enough or X, Y, and Z. Like, obviously I'm just like talking out of my ass on that one, but it can be something that he can get. He knows that it's actually natural. That's good for him for a lower cost, because we want to make it affordable for people. We don't want to make it like, okay, we have the whole natural ingredients and all that, but make it like, I don't know, like $6 for the bar. Like, come on, like it makes no sense. So that's like what we're striving for, at least.
I want to impart to you some wisdom that was given to me by like probably one of my best mentors thus far in my professional career. He's the former like VP of supply chain for Chevron. So this guy had been in the industry for 35-ish years. He's from India. He's also not an American guy. He came from India to the US. He calls it the 90% rule. And he says there'll always be an excuse or a reason not to like submit something, right? Not to build the dashboard or to put forth the business plan, because I want to have it perfect. I want to have it 100% done. He goes, but you never get it 100% done.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes, and you can't get it 100% from 85 to 90%, because the details you need to get it there are what you can't gain unless it goes out for testing, right? Unless somebody tastes it, you'd be like, okay, well, like we think it's good, great, but like you're 6 people, you know, like you need 10,000 people to taste it to see if it's actually good. So the part of the 10% that you need to actually get to 100 is going to be depending on if you actually push it out when it's not ready.
Yeah,
And
I agree, but I also like we talked about this as well early. That was like my thought process was the same as yours. But then after Alex and other people, we talked about it. The other thing is like we have to also think about the first impression makes the biggest impression. But I completely understand where you're coming from because we were supposed to, well, we had an idea of going to an event to showcase our bars and stuff like that. It was supposed to be actually at the beginning, yeah, 7th through 8th of March in California. Big event where there's like
remember you guys said
a bunch of companies and stuff. Like it would have been super cool to go to, but it's just we weren't ready to give anything out because like if we have like people that are gonna see our bars and see our company, but our first impression is shit, then we kind of go already in a negative.
of course.
But I completely understand where you're coming from. Like in terms of like the actual product, yeah, we whenever it's done, yeah, we'll bring it out because we want to hear the feedbacks.
Yeah.
That's why we had the whole event. We want to be able to say, hey, like, oh, maybe let's tweak this, like tweak that. And I remember you were like, obviously, like eating all of them, and then you obviously had feedbacks, which is what we want. And thank God, like you're American, but you're not truly American in the ways that you say things because you were actually blunt and you actually said what was needed to be said. So.
Appreciate it. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, obviously, like you said, though, too, you have to manage risk, right?
Yeah.
But also at times it's like nothing's ever going to be perfect, and it's going to
Absolutely.
especially that last percentage of the 5 to 10% is really going to come, if ever, right? Like you may never get it there, right? And there's always going to be things to improve and make better, but the willingness to take that leap anyway, again, with managing risk accordingly. Maybe not in this, like you said, the first initial impression, but once it's ready to go, like, hey, oh well, the vendor we usually have who makes the wrapping, like we had to use a different vendor, like so the bar package feels a little differently. It's like, okay, like it is what it is. Like we have to have that product to show.
Agreed.
And because there'll always be a reason to like, well, but I just need to make a few tweaks. Well, let me just make a few tweaks.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself, it's 3 months, it's 6 months, now it's a year later, and now you could have a year of experience and knowledge, and now you've just been like, well, but I'm trying to get it perfect, and it's like,
yeah, I've been going through that, but kind of like it's not on the bars itself. It was like more like on my YouTube content creation and stuff like that. I really want to go YouTube. I want to show like what life I'm living and stuff like that. So like this, hopefully people can relate. But I always backtrack it because I'm like, it's not going to be good. Like, why do people care and all that stuff? But
man, I can tell you,
it's hard because it's all in your mind. Everything that you're thinking, you're your worst enemy. You're going to always doubt yourself in specific scenarios and stuff. And I was like born like very timid and shy and stuff like that. But once I break the ice, like for example, like we're talking right now, like it's completely fine. But if I'm speaking in front of a camera, like it's just like completely off, even though I do this for a living.
Yeah.
But I'm on the other side.
that does matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're, as someone who, I used to be very, there was a time in my life where how would you say, I didn't take action on things. I had ideas, or I'm going to do this, and I would talk myself out of it. I was shy, I was scared, I didn't have the confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And about 5 or 6 years ago, I really made an active choice to live a different life, to where I was trying to put as little time between when I thought about something and then actually doing it. If I said I was going to start going to the gym, I was going to start going to the gym. 5 years ago, I weighed like 280 pounds. I was like a big fat dude.
Yeah.
I was taking drugs to like numb myself from the experience I was having in my life. And I was like barely passing college and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. After I got out of the army, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And, I just said, okay, when I'm going to start doing things, like, and I say I'm going to do it, like I actually am going to follow through. And similarly with this podcast, I had the idea in like February, March, talked to some very like just close, trusted friends, that I knew would tell me honestly, right? They would be blunt with me, like, hey, do you think I could do this? Am I someone who could do this? I talked to 2 different people that I trust very, very dearly, and they're close to me, and they both were like, no, like, yeah, okay, like, but they asked me hard questions like, why? What's your why? Why do you want to do this? What are you trying to do with it? Like, what's the goal here? Like, what do you want to get out of it?
Yeah.
And so we had some tougher conversations and explored those answers, and then we, I did my first episode in June.
Yeah.
I bought all the equipment, bought all the, and I just did it, and I don't know shit about YouTube, right? But I post there almost every day,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like learning more about like, okay, how to use tags a certain way and how to like use this and what are actually good captions and how to like generate a good hook at the first few seconds of the video for shorts, or this is like actually leading with kind of a trailer on the front end of your video. Like you'll like the way we learn anything is we learn by doing it. Like
No, yeah, I agree.
Anyone to get good at lifting weights? We gotta go to the gym and lift weights.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. It's just like it's just self-doubt,
Yeah.
you know. But like for example, to ask you that question, it's like how did you even overcome that? Like, because and I watch so many videos to like motivate myself and to be like, because I see so many creators that I really truly admire, and I want to be in that position of what they're doing and stuff like that. But I see them and then I'm like, I want to do it, but then after I don't do it because I'm getting scared. So why, like, how did you even overcome that?
I'll give you the real answer. I don't think you ever do. I don't think you ever really get over it. I'd lie to you if I said every video I put out I feel like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, man, this sucks. Or if not, I'm trying to be nicer to myself and be kinder to me. And so I'm like, okay, this could be better. You know, but like, why could it be better? And like, well, what's the thing that I'm comparing it against to say it's not good enough?
Yeah.
You know, we talked about you with like the color grading and the editing in a video, and you're like, oh, but I could do it a little bit. I could do it a little like,
Yeah.
you'll always be able to do it a little better. Right.
Agreed.
But something you may think, it's okay. Maybe the thing that someone else needs to hear, or that they're like, oh my God, someone else did this thing. I could do it. So I don't think it ever fully goes away. And I look at fear and doubt. I've learned to like use them as an indicator, meaning if I'm scared to do something, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And that's actually probably the thing I should do. Right. Because I never have done something and been like, I regretted doing that.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I wish I had done this and I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I think like that's what fear helps entice is the point to realize like if you're scared to do it, well, it's because maybe you've never done that kind of thing before. So yeah, it's scary. You know, like when you've never talked to a girl before, it's like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Well, how are you going to find someone to share life with if you can't talk to a woman, right?
That is correct.
Right. So and it's not that then like, okay, so that first time it was horrible. Like you wanted to kill yourself. It was the word like,
Yeah.
Hey girl, you're like, oh my God, stupid. That was horrible. Right. But then a few years later, you've done it a couple more times and now you're like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, like now it's more natural. And it's like the same thing with the first video you post on YouTube. It's probably going to be shit. But guess what? Only the first one has to be shit.
Yeah. You only get better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only if like you're only new to the gym the first time you come.
Agreed.
Every time you go, you only get a little bit better. You learn a little bit more. Oh, if I set my elbow down a little bit more, set my shoulder, I get a little bit more contraction.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but it just like you do that over a period of years, and now you're like you want to be like, oh man, how do you like know so much? Like, I just come in here and I do it.
Yeah.
You know. So my argument would be is you don't really ever get over it. It never becomes like not scary.
Yeah.
It's just you build a different relationship to the fear and the scared. You're like, you know what? Like I've been able to do it when I was scared before, so I can do it when I'm still scared now.
Yeah. You're romanticizing like your journey and stuff. And I completely agree because I literally watched another creator and he was like, all it comes to is just execution.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. Just like Nike says, but obviously whatever. But everything has to be like, if you set your mind to it, don't like wait, and then do it. But I've had that, and that's a problem because after I just put myself in a position where I want to post out videos, I want to share my life, which it can be scary because like obviously you can't say specific things because it's very personal. You don't want to maybe open too much or whatever the case may be.
I'm too open here every day.
Yeah, but for my instance, because I've never done it, it scares me.
It's still scary.
But there's so many people that do it. And obviously at the end, it all comes down to editing. If you want to cut something out, you cut something out. Yeah. So I think it's, I want to do it. I'll start doing it. It's just like the planning and stuff. Like and also I feel like I have ADHD, but I don't know if I do. But I'm like, I kind of go all over the place sometimes. So, but yeah.
It's like, I mean, but that's the same argument. People are like, I'll get to the gym next month.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the inevitable procrastination because you do have a fear. You have some uncertainty. You're like, well, I don't really know how to work out right. Well, you never will unless you go start working out.
Yeah. That's why I tell people whenever they want to go to the gym too, because I only started like 3 years ago. I was literally in the same position.
Exactly. There's an analogy I love. It says like starting is the hardest part. right? It's harder to start anything than continue.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So like it's hard to start a company. It's easier to continue to build one.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
It's hard to start going to the gym. It's easy to keep going to the gym. It's hard to start a diet. It's easy to stay on a diet. It's hard to start a YouTube.
Yeah.
But once you do it, you're like, oh, okay, like then you realize like the fear I was so scared of really was me creating this bigger fear, and like the fear was actually relatively small. Like it wasn't that big. I'm the one making it be so big. And like the simple analogy I give people is like, if you don't pursue the life you want in 5 years, you'll still be where you are now, versus you could have had 5 years of experience.
Yeah.
And which one is an easier thing to look back on and be like, hey, maybe you do a YouTube for a few years and you're like, hey, like I tried it, I really committed some time and effort to it, and it just didn't, like, I didn't enjoy it. It's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I don't want to have the fear to regret something that I have never done. So like, I completely understand. That was just, I have to do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Many people start businesses for money, status, or freedom. What would you say is the deeper reason for you?
In terms of like my own business or like the snack company?
I mean, either.
I mean, for my own company, so like the whole filmmaking and all that stuff, it's much deeper because I got the so whenever I graduated college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I always had this idea in the back of my mind of doing like photos and videos and stuff, because I was introduced to that because of my mother. She had a camera, and whenever we first came to the US, obviously like I said, we only had 2 years to technically stay.
Yeah.
And we visited a lot of places in the US, and she would capture everything. And I was mesmerized about the fact that you can capture a moment with a box.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. So I was binge watching like movies, YouTube and all that stuff. And like I was like a big nerd growing up, like games and all that stuff.
Same.
And I still do, to be completely frank with you.
Hey, same.
But I went through corporate, did construction, was a headhunter as well in construction industry and stuff. And then after I just realized like it wasn't something that I wanted to do. And I was like, I want to put a smile on people's faces. Because I truly care. Like I'm an emotional guy. Like I truly care about emotions. I want people to be happy, because there's like, there's too much shit going on right now in the world. And I want to be able to help people out in a specific way. Right now, it's mostly about the corporate stuff. Like I want to be able to humanize them. So like this, it's not just in transaction to transaction stuff. And I know we've had this conversation already a couple of months back, but I mean, with a business, obviously the money comes in, but it's not for that specifically. I think it's just to lift off some weight off their shoulders to make them say like, look, I can take care of it for you. Don't worry. I'm here to help, because it is a service. I want to be able to help people out. That's the biggest one that I want.
Yeah.
And obviously like, be happy. That's the thing. Like I love doing this. Like it's actually, like it might sound so cliche. Oh yeah, it's my passion, blah blah blah. Because everybody says that.
Yeah.
But I truly like, I binge watch YouTube like all the time. Like that's my thing. Like if you go on my Instagram feed, it's only tutorials and different things that I can learn about my craft and what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
There's no like memes or whatever. I mean, it can be fun from time to time, sure. But that's like my main goal. That's how I'm going to be able to succeed and get better. But the main thing is I want people to smile and have a good time and be happy about what they're going to see. Like, because for example, if I'm shooting videos and photos for a wedding is something that hopefully like can be everlasting, that you can share to your family and your loved ones and stuff. And it only happens once.
Yeah.
If you fuck up, you're done. But if you do it so well and they're happy about the product, it goes way beyond money aspect.
Yeah.
It means so much to them. I've seen people cry because of the videos that I've made, which is insane. Like I made a documentary, a short doc, I would say, about my friend who started going to play overseas in basketball and stuff like that, and the struggles that he had to overcome and stuff like that. And apparently his mom cried.
Yeah.
And it felt weird, like, but in such a good way, to hear that there was an impact that was given to even someone that just like watched it. And that they don't have to know me personally. So that's like way beyond like money aspect.
So for you, you'd say it's more just in the wanting to help generate some kind of emotion for people.
Yes,
That you
absolutely.
feel something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's there is a component of like you said there, the ability to capture a moment in time that is there's nothing more I think unique than that, right?
Mhm.
That hey, the only thing I can assimilate it to would be like music, right? Like you hear us,
Yeah.
and you can like go back to a certain moment in your life, and I think like photos or videos kind of give us the ability to do the same. We
Yeah.
can go back to that moment in time and re-feel that emotion that we felt then,
Mhm.
and it's truly beautiful. To your comment on there's so much shit in the world, I think it's what you focus on. If you choose to focus on negative things, that's what you'll find.
Yeah.
Because what you focus on, or like what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right.
Mhm.
It's just what you choose to put your energy into. There's
Yeah.
always bad things happening in the world.
Yeah.
There's always really good things happening too, which you
Absolutely.
choose to put the energy to.
Yeah.
All right. And that's my argument. Like, oh, the world's so shitty now. I'm like, really? Because historically, it's not ever really been that great.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It's only a couple hundred years ago we had good slaves. Like so really is the world that bad? Like,
Yeah.
just what are you focusing on?
Yeah.
So I would argue more people just need to focus on the better parts of life. Not even just externally, but internally.
Mhm.
Like you, like look at all the things that you are doing well. Look at the content that you are creating that is making a difference, that is being able to pull on people's emotions like that.
Yeah.
So in that same fear of like, oh, YouTube, it's like you've already made people cry with the videos you've put together.
Yeah.
In a good way. You've been able to
Mhm.
have a memory for someone and create a memory for them that they'll have and be able to look back on for the rest of their life. So I mean that's something I can say I think I've done before. So
Yeah.
like you're more than capable to do the thing that maybe you fear you're not good enough for, that you'll be judged for, that maybe won't go well. It's like,
Yeah, but also we put ourselves like expectations in our head, and I think social media doesn't help
no.
because like we see personas that we idealize. I don't like idealizing people; like they're just not me. But we see people in specific scenarios where they have all the money and all that stuff, and they're living the grand life and whatever. And we want to be in this position where we just like we're like how where do we even start?
Yeah, I mean, I think again that's like what you focus on. There's always someone doing better than you.
Yeah,
Who makes better videos, who makes more money, who's more jacked, right? Like, there's always someone better than you, right? So it's like, again, you don't know like their time to get there or their journey or their relationship to those things that happened, right? So it's like, how could you? It's not even like a 1-to-1 comparison because it's not equal.
Yeah.
Like, you've been lifting for 3 years. Maybe they've been lifting for 15.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you've been making content for 5 years. Maybe they've been doing it for 20. Right. Like time isn't the only variable there, but like maybe this guy's only been doing it for 2 years. You've been doing it for 5, but maybe you've done 2,000 videos in 5 years and he's done 10,000 videos in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't know the inputs that generated the output that you're seeing. Right. Because it's just like this little section of a moment in time you're seeing. Yeah, man, I think that's good. That's a good reason too. That was my reason to want to generate a podcast. Was I wanted to be able to be useful to people, and I wanted to, by telling my story and my experiences, and maybe giving people the interpretations I've been able to understand and see from the world. And I think there's truths that exist in life outside of, outside of what we already know. Meaning, like, if you're a good person, there's proof of that historically, right? Like, if you're a good person, like, generally good things can happen to you. I mean, bad things are gonna happen to you too.
Yeah, of course.
Like you're rewarded for that genuine kindness and authenticity that you bring, right? And it's like it's always better to tell the truth, even though it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's these, I call them like unconditional truths in life that exist, and I continue to speak on those. Like I've never regretted hard work, right? I've only regretted not doing things. I've never regretted staying up late to work on something. I've always regretted when I show up to something and I'm unprepared because I didn't work hard enough, right? And it's like to kind of give that message to people to realize that maybe like they can do more than they think. Like I'm just some dude who came from a little town in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, who was, again, like 5 years ago, I was overweight and doing drugs and like I was miserable. And most days I wanted to kill myself because I hated my life. Like 5 years later, I graduated one of the best students out of the University of Houston, in my field in supply chain and economics. And I've ran a couple marathons now and 5,000 miles in the last 3 years. And, I'm pretty fit and I make decent money. And now I've started a podcast and, like those are all just things that like super high level, right? But like 5 years ago, no one would have bet on me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even want to bet on me 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, you can have the life you want if you're willing to do the things in order to get to there, right? And you're the only one who can do it. Like, no one's going to save you.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to pull you out of the darkness except for you. And when it's hard, like, it's either going to continue to be hard, not forever, but until you decide to do something about it. Because the hardship's only there to teach you something. It's not there to ruin you or to end it for you. It's there to be a lesson, to be a guide, so that you can be better going forward when the next hard thing arises. And I think so much of the culture nowadays, maybe at least here in the US, has just gotten so soft. To where it's like this coddling. It's okay. Like, no, like you've made poor choices. Those are just consequences for the actions that you've taken. This doesn't mean life's miserable or the world's unfair to you. Like, you've done stupid shit. So now you've got consequences for that.
Yeah, own it.
Yeah. And then, it's like, no, well, I'm depressed. My life's miserable. It's like, you're not fucking depressed. You just sit on your ass all day and look at your phone. Like, go outside. Go to the gym.
Yeah.
Pursue something that actually has meaning. And all of a sudden, wow, now we're not depressed.
The gym has definitely helped a lot, I think, in my personal life. Because I wasn't in like the gym at all. I was just playing basketball and stuff, but it definitely helps a lot. And I think especially like, I don't know if you would say the same thing, but at least in the last like 3-4 years, I've seen so many more people go to the gym now, which I think is a good thing. Everybody's going more on the healthy style and all that stuff. So
yeah, no, I agree. We talked about this briefly before as well. In a world where like networking is often like kind of transactional. We talked about how going to networking events, kind of like, hey, I'm with you. Nice to meet you. I do.
Yeah.
So you're like, how do you ensure your relationships, both personal and professional, stay genuine and meaningful?
I think just being myself, to be honest. I'm not trying to act like somebody else. Especially whenever like I have meetings, whether it's Zoom or whether it's in person, whether it's personal or whether it's for business, like I'm never gonna change.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to have like a different persona, or they say, "Oh, I'll change for this type of client, and I'll change for this type of client." No.
Yeah, I'm gonna mask on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not Two-Face.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm gonna keep being myself. I know who I am. I know I'm a nice and kind person. I know that what I can bring to the table. And I know I can help somebody else. So whenever I have those interactions, I'll just explain who I am. And if they don't like me, that's fine. Not everybody has to like you. Not everybody has to be on the same side as you are.
Yeah, you're not for everyone.
But if you can explain and just be yourself, that's it. That's the only thing that matters in my opinion.
And then people can make an honest assessment of that.
Yeah.
If you're really you. Like, you go, oh, I like this person, or I don't like this person.
Yeah.
Not if I'm pretending to be someone else. They're like, well, I like that version of you. Well, that's not really you.
Yeah.
Right. So at least if you're who you really are, then again, people can honestly make a choice too. Do they like you or do they not?
And you can tell, I think, also when people are just like faking who they really are.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, I don't have the best radar whenever it comes to that, but it's nice to know that all the people that I've met, at least within the last 2-3 years, they've only been genuine and they actually mean what they say, and they're not faking it. That's the thing. Because I know people that fake it, and it's horrible because like you want to get to know why they're doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
Because like, can I not just get to know who you are instead of like the whatever this is?
I think it's because there's something else buried there.
Yeah.
I said many times, I think the biggest problem in society right now is that people don't know themselves. They don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Right. They know what their parents maybe have told them they should be or should do, or what society has said, oh, you should be like this. But they've never gone like, who am I? What do I enjoy? What do I like? Who do I want to be? What do I not want to be?
Yeah.
All right. And to your comment there too about how in more recent times, you found people being more genuine, more authentic. I think it's because we attract what we are.
Yeah. No, I agree.
1000%. If that's who you are, well, that's what you will then bring close to you. So like if you're fake and you go like, oh, all the people around me are fake. It's like, what makes sense?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that, again, like a snake won't try and come in.
No, of course.
Right? But you will have the ability to like recognize it and be like, no, like I've seen this behavior before. Like I know what that is. Yeah, no, I think that's good. I'm gonna get you with this one, okay?
Okay.
If I were to ask people closest to you what they value most about your friendship, what do you think they would say?
Oh my God. That's tough. I would say like that. I mean, it's a pro and a con, I think, but the fact that I can put myself before myself, or put others before myself. Sorry.
There you go. Okay. Damn English.
Get it together. No, I like to help people out, so that's why I'm always a people pleaser. I've always been like this.
Yeah.
But it's a pro and a con because I've gotten taken advantage of, not in that way. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, but
Just
to clarify, okay.
Sexually.
But I've been able to like help people out, but sometimes like I would tend to say yes too many times, and it would bite me in the ass. And I've been able to learn, at least with like the new business, to say no, which is a good feeling.
Yeah.
But I would say that most people would say that I want to be able to just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And just like kind, I think, and respectful. I will never be a dick to you. I will never call like a girl like the B word in front of her face. Like I just can't do that.
I'll do it behind your back though.
Behind her back, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. But I can't do that in front of someone.
Yeah,
Like, I will never disrespect someone in their face. I don't want to be that person that just like is known for being like a rude person or anything like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. And it's the beautiful thing of it is we're all different.
Yeah.
It's just I want to be able to get to learn who you are, and you get to learn who I am. It's a two-way street, and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I would agree. I mean, I'd say you're someone who definitely seems like I would characterize you as someone very focused on commitment to honesty and truth.
Absolutely.
In how you are with, like you said, I'm gonna be myself, right? Not just that, but in it meaning more about the connection to the person or the thing rather than money or status or anything driven in that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I mean, you can make like millions of dollars. I can make millions of dollars, but it's not going to change who I am because I think it's the way that my parents raised me. And also the fact is like, again, going back to my dad went from literally the lowest of the lowest to that, like he's doing super well in life. And my mother has always told me that he's never changed. He's been the same person since the time whenever they first met to now, which is what I want to be. Like, obviously, that's the person that I idealize. Like, my parents are like the people that I want to be whenever I grow up. So I think that's the way that if I was raised in that specific way, then I know that I will, again, like kind of the same thing that you were saying. It's like you attract the people and all that stuff. So I just act the same way that my parents do, basically. So good education on their end for sure.
Shout out to your parents.
Yes, shout out to my parents for sure.
But no, I think there's a good phrase that says, money and status don't change you; they just change everyone around you.
Yeah,
and I think it's true because like if you were a piece of shit when you were broke, you'll be a piece of shit when you're rich. Yeah, right. Because the money didn't change you. Correct. You just now don't care as much about what people say about you because you've got enough money. It doesn't matter. So you're more willing to lean into being a dick more, right? But just as much as you're willing to place priority on helping and serving others and being kind and whatever, like the money won't change that. It'll just amplify it. It'll make it more accessible to you. I will now utilize the money I have to help in ways as well, right?
But it can also attract the wrong people.
It can. But I think, again, that's like anything. You get better at identifying that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's one thing that I don't have yet. I think I need to definitely, because again, I tend to be nice to everyone. I need to have that radar that kind of goes like, hey, like, look, like this person might act like they're nice. Because I can't tell if they're faking or if they're not faking it. I'm just listening to what they're saying. Yeah. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's more than most people do.
Yeah.
Most people don't listen.
I think it goes to one ear, comes out the other most of the time. So, yeah.
There's another quote that I really wanted to, I'll butcher it a little bit. You know who Eliud Kipchoge is?
Nope.
Okay, he's the marathon, well, he was the world record holder. And beat last year. Multi-time marathon gold medalist.
Okay.
One of the, like, seems like the face of running currently in the world.
Wait, from Kenya, right?
Yeah, from Kenya.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know.
He has a quote that says, "Only those who say no are free. Only people who can say no are free." Because people who say yes to everything, like, their life doesn't belong to them. It belongs to everyone
makes
else.
sense.
He said, so only those who say no and are disciplined are free.
I feel like I broke that barrier a little bit.
Yeah.
At least whenever I started doing my business. Like 3 years ago. That was the thing that, so every time normally I would be in a box always saying yes. If somebody would ask me, they wouldn't know I would say yes most of the time, so that's why they would ask me. Like if I had to drop somebody at the airport, for example, they wouldn't even go and ask their parents or anything like that. They'll be like, "Oh, let me text Matt because I know he will say yes." So, but now that I say no, but I feel guilt.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like my inner guilt. Like I'll always feel like I could have really done this. I could have maybe helped.
Maybe
You
I
know?
could have dropped him off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's so far out. It's like an hour away.
It's fucking far.
I could do something else in the meantime. I don't know. I
Exactly.
could be doing editing. I could literally just be going to the gym or hanging out with my friends and my family or anything like that. So I think in the business, like I'm not gonna go too much in detail, but I went through like almost like a very tough time. I would say like probably the toughest time of my life in the last year, and I think we touched upon that.
We did a little bit, yeah.
But I'm not gonna come out like in public too much with it because it's fairly personal, and I don't
Yeah.
want to be out too much. But I got to really learn like that with that specific situation that I have to say no whenever I don't feel like it's good for me and whenever it's not going to benefit me in any shape or form. There's a friend of mine, his name is Koa. He meditates a lot and stuff. And he said, and it spoke to me a lot, is you have to be the main character. Don't give a shit about anybody else. You're the main character. This is your life.
Yeah.
And I say this to you as well. It's like, you can be kind to everybody else, in which I am. Like, I'm never going to disrespect someone, but you have, like, I have to prioritize my life over, like, stupid things that they're not going to benefit me.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying yes, 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 yes all the time.
Yeah. And I think even to what you said there, that even if there is benefit for you, said, even if there's no benefit, then I should say no. Right. But even if there's benefit, if it costs you your peace of mind, it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you have to like lose a portion of yourself in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
not, there are times there's times in our life when we need to let go of an idea or a way we think or a certain version of ourselves to be better.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's times where scenarios come in our life where we have to let go of a part of ourselves that maybe we're kind of fond of or that we enjoy or that makes us who we are. And it's those are the times it's not worth it. Right. Even if there is benefit, even if there is knowledge or skill to gain, it's like there is still a cost.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that cost isn't worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough too. I struggle holistically in my professional career with saying no because I want to be good. I want to be seen as someone who's competent, who can.
Yeah, you want to do the extra work. You want
Yeah.
to be that person that just goes above and beyond for the company and X, Y, and Z. But sometimes you have to, like, at least in my opinion, with the work that I've been doing, and sometimes you have to take two steps back and look at yourself and be like, does it actually make sense for me?
Yeah.
Because like, I know it makes sense for them, but like with my own conscience and mentality and everything like that, like, is it gonna like just put me in the wrong spots? Like mentally, I think it's the biggest part.
Yeah. If you could go back and give one piece of advice to your younger self before you moved to the US, what would it be?
That's funny because I literally asked the same question whenever I had the interviews that I was filming for the construction company.
Mm-hmm.
You said how many years?
No, if you could,
If I could talk to myself like young,
like before you came to the US,
one
one piece of advice to younger Matthieu, what would it be?
I can give myself. Holy, don't be frightened about a different culture. I think that was like,
Maybe just don't be afraid.
yeah. Let's just like generalize it. Like, don't be afraid, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the biggest one because I always like live in fear of like what is going to happen. And
Anxiety is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
it eats you up like crazy, but it is beautiful though.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes us human.
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes me have the tingles and like I'm living. Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm living. If I'm not like, for example, every time whenever I came here, for example, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Whenever I have projects, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
But that's what makes me human. But I would say don't be afraid about like change, I would say.
Yeah.
Because like it can bring you so many different opportunities that you would never imagine. Like I'm 1000% positive that if I stayed in France, I would have never been doing what I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because like you said, the fascination that created the idea was the fact that your mom was taking pictures when you were traveling.
Mhm.
So it created this like, like that's interesting. I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to present to you is because it's something I've come up within myself. And then as I've talked to more people, I've kind of asked a similar question like this. And it's crazy how that the thing we would tell our younger selves is often still the thing we need to hear now. So you said I would tell him not
Don't
to
be afraid, but I am afraid. Yeah.
Now you're still
Wow.
needing to be.
That's nuts.
Because it's like we often think that like the answer we need now is different. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I'm 25, 26, and like 11-year-old, whatever, right? But like that version of you is still inside of you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, yeah, you're older, but like the 10 or 11 or 12-year-old version of ourselves is still inside of us today.
Mhm.
Right. And so I have, again, I go to therapy every week already, and I have for about 3 years now. It's what's really helped me be able to like kind of map an idea and a better understanding of the world collectively, to not want to hurt myself and to navigate the struggles and challenges I face in myself.
Yeah.
And then how it's also now to try and give it back to other people.
Mhm.
But the one that like I said, I've been obsessed with is this idea that knowledge that you have, the advice you would still give you then, is the advice you now still need to take.
That's actually crazy, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never thought about it that way.
That's why I ask, is like, because it's an interesting, just kind of like mirror of reflectiveness to say like, like, oh shit, like,
It's actually a good thing that you're saying that, because I can use that to my advantage whenever I'm speaking to people. Like that whole analogy is like insane.
Yeah.
But it's like I was talking with two of my friends for like the past like week or so. Like I've been seeing them at the gym a lot. It's like we have a lot of things that we think about in the back of our minds, but it never happens.
Yeah.
So it's like this, like I need to have that change where I'm just like, you know what, like fuck it.
Yeah.
I just got to do it. That's it. And not look back, because after you learn from your mistakes and all that stuff. And like you said, even if it's like in 6 months or in a year, if it doesn't work, I know that I won't be regretting it because I actually gave it a try.
Yeah, you tried it.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the same things that I would say to my younger self are often I find are the things I still need to follow and listen to today. So again, I've been it's like one of those like unconditional truths, right? Like I mentioned earlier, that I find still plaguing not just my life, but everyone else's as well.
Yep.
Just something I just continue, like I'm learning about life. I'm learning about, the way we all interpret the world by the more conversations I have with more people. The way I'm like, well, how do you view the world? How do you think about this? Oh, okay, it's crazy. That's how I kind of think about it too. Doesn't mean we're right, but like we come from different sides of the world with different sets of experiences, but then we still arrive at the same kind of a feeling about a thing. That's not luck, right? Like there's a reason for that. That means there's some weight in it and there's truth, and that means it's real. And I'm just obsessed with trying to understand that more and trying to give that back to other people so they can realize like, oh shit, like I'm not the only one who feels that way.
No. Well, you're doing a good job by having podcasts and stuff.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
People often say struggle is necessary for growth. Do you agree? Or do you think there's a way to grow without hardship?
No, I think you need it.
Yeah.
You need it because, again, like it goes back on like the whole mistakes and stuff. Like you need to go over obstacles, because if it's like we're not living in a life where there's all sunshine and rainbows. Like it just does not work that way. You can tell yourself that and live in a fairy tale, but at one point there's going to be a big ass stop sign that's going to hit you in the forehead and you won't even see it coming.
Yeah.
So I think you need it. It doesn't have to be over the top. It's not like, oh my God, like there's somebody that passed away or something like that. Like it doesn't have to go to that, or you getting yourself hurt or whatever it is. But even there's going to be struggles, but it's more about not even like the outside people. It's just going to be within yourself.
Yeah.
Like I have my own struggles.
Yeah. Or like those little inconveniences, those roadblocks in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like instead of complaining about them or bitching or whatever, like use it as a, like, what can I gain from this?
Yeah.
Why, like, like a good phrase I've heard is like, things neither are good or bad, they just are.
I think I've heard that. I've heard that one before.
Good or bad. It's like the traffic is just there. It's neither good or bad.
Yeah.
If
you can't control things.
And you live in Houston, you could assume.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
You could assume there's traffic.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's something that you couldn't have even predicted, but it's not like it's an out of the like this isn't out of the ordinary. Now, if you got on the road at 4 o'clock and the freeway was empty, you'd be like,
huh, this is
what's
weird.
going on, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
get on in at 4 o'clock and there'd be traffic. You're like, here we are.
It's a
Right? But
normal
like,
day.
why be mad about it? It's not good or bad. It's just part of
Yeah, it's there.
existing.
Yeah.
And instead of being upset about it, just like putting yourself in a bad mood, look at like, oh, well, like I have some time. I could listen to this album I want to hear. I could listen to this podcast that I want to listen to. I could do, I could turn the music off and I could just think a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I'm going to be late to this place, or oh, I wish, there wasn't this. It's like, well, but what can you do with the time you have?
Yeah.
How can you make the most of it instead of just complaining about how you're not getting what you want, which would be it to be less slow or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So just thinking in that way as well.
I do find myself a little bit I do find myself complaining a lot to myself, I would say, and that's a bad trait that I need to work on, because sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't think I'm a big overthinker. Like, I just think like a motherfucker. Like, it's actually crazy, but it hurts me sometimes where I'm like thinking too much, and after it like hurts, like where I want to go, because like I want to be able to work with more people, work with more clients and all that stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. It's just like kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
It's all in the brain at this point. I'm only hurting myself.
Yeah.
So just need to work on it.
But first you have to know it's there. You can't fix anything you don't know is wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of people, like, I think that's
acknowledge the problem.
Well, but they just don't know themselves. So they don't know, oh, I overthink. Oh, I do this, or oh, I do that. Like, there's, life's just fucking
It sucks.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, like, you kind of suck.
Yeah.
And maybe if you take the time to step back and realize that maybe you're not as cool or great or whatever you think you are, you could actually start to fix some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I agree with you on the hardship thing. I think hardship is necessary. And yeah, like you said, maybe it doesn't have to be something huge, like something like, losing someone. But those things are still going to happen anyway, right? So I think it's, again, what you do with those experiences, because they're inevitable, right?
Yeah.
But anytime I've grown or become better or improved at anything, it's often been after something hard, right? Like a hardship that's been present.
Yeah.
Because when it's either, I think hardship has a weird way of creating this experience of you're either going to figure it out or it's going to continue to be hard. And so again, like, the only way out is to do some work on yourself, or do the thing you're avoiding doing, that then gives you the ability to finally start the new thing, right? Whether it gives you the courage or the skill set or whatever, is like, now you can finally do that thing. And that's only something that hardship can provide. Because like when it's always easy and feels great, like, well, who wants to do it then?
No
one, right? So I got just a few more for you, as we've been here a while. If you were to define success, not in terms of money or achievement, but in the terms of fulfillment, what would that look like for you?
In terms of fulfillment, just like
for you, what is success look like to you?
It goes back to just me being happy, literally. That's like, besides the monetary value, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just like, as long as I feel good and I can, like, I don't know, like, take my friends out to dinner and stuff like that, and just like have a good time with them and just be around the people that I love the most.
Yeah. I
think it goes beyond like the monetary value. As long as I'm happy, I don't really care. That's it. I'm simple. I'm a simple guy.
I'll give you my argument to happiness.
Okay.
I used to optimize for happiness. That's like, I want to be happy. And then I realized that happiness is just like every other emotion. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. Like, just, like if your dog dies, it's fair to be sad.
Yeah.
Or if you don't get the client you think you really were close to getting and it falls through, like, it's okay to be sad. That's normal.
Yeah.
Right. But it won't be there all the time. You'll stop being sad. Right. And say the argument for motivated versus disciplined. You're not always going to be motivated, so it's better to be disciplined. And for me, I used to optimize for happiness, and I realized, like, what makes up happiness for me? And maybe this is the same for you, and you're just calling it happiness. But for me, it's in fulfillment. I want to do stuff that matters. Yeah. That actually helps people, that I know, like, I was useful. I didn't leave wasted potential on the table. I didn't have to sit back and wonder, could I have done the thing I thought about all those times? Like, did I actually do it?
Yeah.
All right. And that for me is made up in the the reaching for more in my life, whether that be in starting this podcast or I'm training to run 100 miles right now. Like, I don't know if I can do that. But the only way I'm going to find out if I can do it is by trying to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's going to require like me to fail. I mean, usually that's how we learn, right? Trial and error, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
But that for me is like what I find makes me happy, is through chasing fulfillment, through chasing actually being able to matter in a way, to give value to others, to be useful.
Yeah.
That fulfillment makes me happy, but it's not because I'm chasing happiness, because I'm chasing the fulfillment.
Yeah. I think me, it's a fulfillment of like helping others, like the act of service and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like your love languages or whatever.
Yeah.
Like me, it's just like the like acting of just being there for someone. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a similar for you. The chasing something outside of ourselves.
Yeah, I think we have the similar one for sure.
And I think that's one of those like, again, like unconditional truths, right? It's like, what's something that's been happening for as long as there's been people around? It's like, we've been doing things for others, and that feels better than anything else, right? Because you could buy yourself a new this or a new that, or
it's all material.
Yes. But the moment you like do something for someone else and are used
now that's
to that,
different because it hits you here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, like that's something we've seen. People have talked about that for however long people have been here. You know, like that's been a topic. Like, hey, when you do for others, you feel really great. Like, well, why is that? You know, like this. And I think again, it's rooted in something more than you. As the biggest thing and the most important thing we can do is be of service or of use to other people. Right. And there's many avenues now in life to do that. And I think maybe that's what's changed through time, is the ways you can do that have changed, right? Maybe it was you were a blacksmith before.
Yeah.
Right. Or you were the farmer before, right? You know, like now you're providing the ability to capture an image or a story that can then reach people.
Yeah, which is crazy when you think about it, right? It's like literally my job is revolving around making people feel good.
Yeah.
Which is like I wanted to be actually it's funny because whenever I was in college, I wanted to work in like therapy, like because I love talking to people and hearing their stories and stuff. But I feel like I'm doing that in a different way. Yeah. And I love to listen about what people are going through. So by having that storytelling aspect in videos, like that's the thing and they can look back on it and learn or show their kids and families, coworkers, whoever it may be. So.
All right. Last two. What's one belief that you had 5 years ago that you no longer have today?
Oof. What's one belief that I had 5 years ago that I don't believe in today? It's a good question. I'm blinking. I don't know. What would be yours? Just to give me some inspiration.
I thought that maybe you're familiar with the phrase, the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, so maybe it's an American thing, but no. But it's like it's saying if you work hard at the gym, the assumption is, well, you'll work hard at your job, and you'll work hard at being a husband, or you'll work hard at being a good friend. Yeah. Right. So the way you do that one thing, let's say the gym or work, is the way you do everything. Yeah. Right. And that's a common phrase people push out. Oh, like if you can't show up and be hardworking at your job, like, well, I bet you can't work hard at anything else, right? Again, because it's attached to that mindset. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. I believed that before. I now do not believe that. Because it really comes down to what people care about the most is what they work the hardest on. Yeah. Because I know some I'll give you the fitness one again. You see a fit guy, your assumption is like, oh, I bet he works hard at his job. Because he obviously he's fit, so he has to work hard for that. So I'm interviewing him. I bet he'll work hard here. That assumes that he cares about this job as much as he cares about training his physique. Maybe he doesn't give a shit about this job. Do you think he's going to work hard at it? Probably not. So it's not about how he did one thing. It's about how he does the things he cares about. So the right way to measure that is this something they care about? Because if it's not, and then on the flip side, I've worked with some very overweight, unhealthy people who are the best at their job. Yeah. So they don't care about their health, right? It's lower on the priority list, but they care about their job. Yeah. So they do it amazingly. Yeah. Right. So it's not about how they do one thing, because you can't do everything that way. Right. Like there's things that you probably like procrastinate or avoid or do whatever.
I mean, so like everybody does. Yeah.
Everyone. Right. Yeah. But that's not how you do the things that you care the most about. Right. So it's like the idea it was like, I believed it for so long. Like, I judged people that way. Like, oh, like I'd see someone fit, like, oh, I bet you work really hard. And it's like, nah.
I kind of agree with that one, because I was thinking about, sorry for cutting you off, but I think it was the one where, like, I can't remember like exactly, or I don't know how I'm gonna be able to put this into words, but the amount of work translates to the amount of success, kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But
Working harder doesn't always equal more.
yeah, exactly. I think it's about more the quality of the work. So you know how whenever you're in school, they say, "Oh, I've worked like 15 hours on an exam, or like to learn to like
Maybe
study for an exam or whatever." But maybe in that 15 hours, there's only 2 that were actually important.
Exactly.
So I think it's like, that's what I've learned in terms of my job.
Yeah.
I went completely in different ways. I went into the whole factor of, okay, I'm going to try this option A. Let's do 6 hours of editing, right? Am I going to make that work?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. Then I went into the other option, which is an hour, 2 hours. But then after I take breaks or set specific dates on my calendar where it's like, okay, I'm editing on this day, I'm editing on this day, I'm editing on this day. But then after, I'm not doing it. I was much more efficient afterwards, because I knew that like
there wasn't
5 years ago, I was like, okay, like I just have to work as hard as I can. I have to be able to do this, and that for such a long period of time. But then after, it would eat me alive.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the process to do it, but now I don't believe in it, because it's really about how hard you put that effort for a specific amount of time. Because after, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, like who can sprint for 2 hours?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one of them.
I think I would argument, the argument for me on that is, there is a period of in your life where you don't have skills. So hard work is the only way to get better.
Yeah.
Right. But then it shifts, because then you get some skills and you know how to do a thing, and you realize, well, just the hardness, right? Like, or the effort in which I do the work doesn't always translate to the value that I get out of it.
Yeah. There's another one, that I think is good, is, and it kind of goes with Gary Vee. I don't know if you know who he is.
I love Gary Vee.
But you don't have to have it figured out.
Oh yeah, you never have it figured out.
Like, there's no way at 21 years old or 22 years old 30. Or even like 27, 28, like I don't have my life figured out.
Yeah.
There's so many things I'm going to be able to learn. I might act like I know everything, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way, like, if you ask me questions about a camera, sure, I'll help as much as I can. But if I can't help you, I'm going to tell you, look, I can't. So people have this ideology, because they see everything on social media, like 21, 18, 19, 20. Oh my God, I'm like on a $30 million yacht. I have everything figured out and stuff. And it eats us alive, because like we want to be in this position. But at the same time, what Gary Vee said is like, you don't have to have it figured out.
Yeah.
We all go at a different pace.
Yeah.
Like,
again,
we all do.
You have to know what you want. Do you want to be on a yacht with $30 million?
I don't really give a shit, to be honest.
But so you're vaporizing a thing, and if that doesn't even what you want, then why do you care?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to the comment I was making earlier is, I think that, like I mentioned, there's a period of time where hard work is necessary. But then once you get some skills and you learn a little bit better, you realize that hard work isn't the only output. There's a quality, there's a timing.
Yeah.
Right. If I know this stock's going to drop $20 tomorrow, well, it's probably a good time to buy it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how hard I work today, it's going to be cheaper tomorrow. So timing is more important than effort. And then inversely, like so I mentor students at the university that I went to, and they're like, oh man, I've been applying for a job for 6 months. I'm like, that's great. How many applications have you done? Because we're not at the lowest common denominator, right? I've been looking at this thing for 15 hours. But how many times did you look over the review?
That's exactly what.
How many times did you study it?
Exactly.
How many times did you look at the review?
That's it.
Right? Because the repetitions behind it. Well, I was in the gym for an hour. How many sets did you do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because we use time as a reference when time actually often isn't the lowest denominator.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like inversely, like I said with that guy, I've been applying for 6 months. How many applications have you done? Oh, 4. Well, then fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. In 6 months, like, come on.
You should be doing 4 before lunch, 4 after lunch.
Yeah, I learned that through like, because I'm taking a course for like to learn more about business with videography and stuff like that. And you know how you have to make, like, obviously LinkedIn is like the best way to go B2B. And with my business, I was like, okay, like maybe I'll just do a little bit, like 10 connections, whatever. But then after I had the mentor, that he literally told me, it's like, you have to do 100, 200, 300 per week.
Yeah.
Not like per month.
Yeah.
And then after it shows because numbers don't lie. And you know this because I am not a numbers guy. You're definitely more of a numbers person than myself. And then after you can see obviously the response rate and all that stuff. Obviously people say yes, people say no. It doesn't matter. But at least you give yourself like some cushion to like be like, okay, I might not have the amount of clients, but I tried because I've sent thousands. Exactly.
Yeah. Because if you're going to get hit one every, let's just say, like people are good with sales, they know sales, right? If you get a sale every 100 times you knock on a door, right? Well, you go like, man, sales doesn't work. People don't make money in sales. How many doors did you knock on? 50. It's like, well, this dude knocked on 50 doors today.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I knocked on 50 doors this month. It's like, he knocked on 50 doors every day. So he got 2 to 3 sales a week, as to where maybe in a week you did 50 doors. So like you got 1 sale a month.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he's getting 2 or 3 times the return issue because he's doing 2 or 3 times the work, not in effort, but in repetition. Right. And inversely, it's like if, people who say like marketing doesn't work, it's like, well, you're not marketing correctly then.
Yeah.
Right. Sales doesn't work. Well, you're not selling correctly. Right. Like and usually it's in a repetition thing. People aren't doing enough repetition. It's like, oh, I put out 100 flyers today. It's like 100.
Yeah.
It's like, do I put 5,000 flyers a day?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, so you in 5 days put out 500 flyers. I in 1 day did 5,000. So at the end of the week, you have 500. I have 30,000. So if one out of every 5,000 flyers brought somebody new into my gym,
I
got 7 new memberships. You have 0, and you won't have any in a month either.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like there is a time, again, like understanding the variable that actually is where you have to leverage. Which thing is it time? Great. Is it repetitions? Great. Is it timing? Great. But I like finding, this is like where my analytical mind is a powerhouse, but like it is understanding that, like, where do I have the most leverage in this thing? If I'm wanting to sell cars, well, I need to make sure I'm talking to anyone who everybody has a fucking car. So I have the reason to not ask anyone about buying a car.
Yeah.
Because again, if maybe only every 100 people I ask are going to say yes, and maybe out of one of those every 300 are actually going to buy, I need to churn through people as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, it's not that you're working that hard. It's also like learning how the thing works.
Yeah. I think it's, to kind of go back on the question that you were asking, one of the things also that I was really thinking about like 5 years ago is that people care a lot.
I'd argue, I think they care way more than people think.
But in my mind, I don't know if it's like I'm saying it the right way or the wrong way, but I shouldn't care too much about what people think.
No, yeah.
Okay, let's put it that way. Actually, I'll rephrase that.
Care so much about what
I used to care a lot about what people think or thought. Sorry.
Yep.
But nowadays, I don't believe that because I truly think that like I need to be just with my own self. Like I just need to do my thing. If people don't care, then they don't care. That's it. Like it is what it is. But I used to be so self-conscious about what people thought about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it changed completely in my life. And I think it did for the better.
Yeah.
Because now after I'm just like, I'm not so conscious about, oh, this person said this person said that. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like, I don't.
You shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, who's going to go to sleep with you? Just yourself.
Myself.
Right? Even if you have someone, even if you have someone laying next to you at night, right? Like, you have to be able to handle what's happening in here.
Yeah,
and what's
absolutely.
Happening in here.
Yeah.
Right? No one else does. And guess what? Whether you're doing what they want or not, they have an opinion. So why the fuck does it matter? And the simplest way to like boil this all down is in 30 or 40 years.
Who cares?
Like,
who's going to remember you?
And then, and then in 100 years, you're all going to be dead. And who cared anyway?
Yeah.
So like, why let it stop you right now?
Yeah. And it kind of goes against what I said because of the fact that I'm like the whole YouTube stuff. It's like, why should I care? Like, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's like for specific things, but I'm definitely working my way towards it because for business, I used to be like, oh, they're going to care about this. They're going to care about that. Like,
and if they care, then fuck them.
Yeah. They're not the clients for me. Exactly. That's it. I think it's about judging, but in a specific way.
Yeah. Finding the variables that matter.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, like if you're, it's like I have a child, right? And if a girl's like, oh, I don't like guys with kids. Cool, great. See ya.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why am I going to fight to?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. It would make no sense.
Exactly.
And after, if you're pushing yourself in a position where you won't even like, you're not respecting yourself. Exactly. If you're going through that. So.
All right, man. Last one. If you could give people a quote or piece of advice, what would you give them?
Well, I think a piece of advice that I would give to someone is that life's too short to really like care too much about what people think. It kind of goes back with what I was just saying earlier.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm already 26.
Yeah.
But I felt like whenever I was like 5 years old, it was like yesterday. You know,
Yeah.
it sucks because like time flies.
It does.
Especially when you're having fun and you're being like doing business stuff. Like we're already the 24th of February. I thought New Year's was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. So maybe don't take things too seriously. Just go at your own pace and yeah, just respect yourself, I would say.
Okay. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really have any great quotes of wisdom today. I usually give one too. I just
Do you end the podcast with it?
I do, yeah. Mine is it's just a quote from a Drake song, but it's a song that I heard for the first time when I was like 13, 14.
Okay.
And it really I have built an attachment to Drake. I'll just tell you because whatever, whoever's listening will just have to hear it. But because he says things like, I'm the greatest, and I said that before I knew I was. And that's a quote from a Drake song. That's a bar from his song. And I attach myself to that ideology of like, I don't have to know I'm great yet. Like maybe right now, 5 years ago, me, like I wasn't great then, but I believed I could be.
Yeah.
Even though I had no evidence or proof to back that up, like I knew like, no, I can be someone great. Even though I have no reason really to think that, like,
yeah,
I did. And now here I am doing things that people tell me and commend me on, and they tell me they think that I'm pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty great now.
Yeah.
Right. And so this one is, especially from his like earlier stuff from like 2009, it's really just like peak. I remember I mentioned to you earlier how like that foundational period years of our life, like a certain type of music, a certain type of experience, photography, right? You were 1 to 13. Like, wow, like that's such how it formats the structure of our brains so fundamentally. And he says, I hope they document what I'm becoming. And I feel like that's me right now. And I hope that I'm documenting it, right?
Literally.
But in 10 years, somebody's like, oh man, must be nice to be whatever, wherever I'm at.
Look back where I was before.
Yeah, but yeah, look what it was then.
Yeah.
I did this when no one watched and no one listened. And if one day it becomes something that everyone listens to, like it won't be because of that I still do it. It'll be because I enjoy sitting across from someone like you and having these more tougher conversations and talking about things that most people avoid dealing with, and most people avoid having that conversation with. Yeah. Because I enjoy that, because I learn more about me and I learn more about the world, and I learn more about these people that I get to talk to. And selfishly, I don't want to give that up. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Well, I appreciate you for making the time today.
Thank you.
And
thanks a lot.
I look forward to us continuing to work together and build some pretty cool stuff. Yep. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy it.